15 years ago, the Battlefield franchise saw the launch of a title that stood out for its distinctive approach and well-crafted concept: Battlefield: Bad Company. And while retaining the intense multiplayer battles the series was known for, it brought a fresh and witty perspective, becoming an iconic entry in the franchise that many players fondly remember.
Lay down your arms or we will take you by force.
Says you and what army? What? I just always wanted to say that.
However, earlier this year, both games were removed from all online shops and platforms, and on December 8th, the official multiplayer servers will be shut down, marking the end of an era. But what exactly was it that made these titles so special? And could a sequel to Bad Company be the key to salvaging the Battlefield franchise and restoring its damaged reputation? Well, I think the best way to unravel these questions is to take a walk down memory lane and remember the laughter, the explosions, and the unforgettable moments that have shaped the history of this series. Let's explore what made these games so exceptional in the first place. Battlefield: Bad Company was the fifth installment of the series and marked a significant departure from its predecessors. The initial 4 titles, despite having different settings, shared similar gameplay mechanics and were focused solely on large multiplayer battles. There were no single-player campaigns, no coherent stories, and no characters to connect with. Battlefield up to that point was defined by massive combined arms battles accessible in both online multiplayer and in solo matches against AI. And while this approach found its fanbase, the gaming landscape evolved rapidly. A team of former Medal of Honor developers had already revolutionized the FPS genre with their own game, Call of Duty, and with the release of Modern Warfare in 2007, they set new standards not just for their own franchise, but for all FPS games, including Battlefield. To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape, DICE needed to come up with something new and innovative themselves and also expand the franchise to more platforms. The answer was Battlefield: Bad Company. Released in June 2008 exclusively for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, it blended the intense multiplayer battles the franchise was known for with a memorable single-player experience. And this should become a turning point for the franchise. Bad Company introduced players to a squad of misfit soldiers on a wild journey for fortune and glory during a fictional war around the Caspian Sea. Even the marketing campaigns reflected the game's style and humorously referenced other franchises like Gears of War, Rainbow Six Vegas, or Metal Gear Solid.
Guys, I'm sure I saw a guy with an eye patch hiding inside that barrel.
What? No.
Why would somebody hide in a barrel?
The squad's interactions and dynamic personalities set Bad Company apart from both previous Battlefield titles and from the competition. Players could now enjoy epic warfare and a hilarious narrative with characters who didn't take themselves too seriously. The semi-open maps in the single-player campaign, along with a diverse pool of vehicles and weapons, added to the player's freedom in completing the mission targets. However, the creative minds at DICE not only crafted a rich narrative with amazing characters, but also introduced intricate maps, missions, and mechanics that transitioned seamlessly into the game's multiplayer. Although it wasn't as extensive as in former titles, it still built upon the core elements that had made Battlefield so good in the first place. However, while maintaining the all-out war experience with combined arms, Bad Company lowered the player count from 64 to 24, scrapped the well-known Conquest mode, which stirred some frustration in the player base, and replaced it with Gold Rush, the only available game mode at launch. The 8 available multiplayer maps were mainly adapted from the single player, featured diverse environments from dense jungles to urban warfare settings, and the pool was expanded later on with 4 more maps in free DLCs. In response to the community, DICE also brought back the Conquest mode, even though this was not available on all maps. The game's progression system was pretty straightforward, and weapons were unlocked with credits earned by ranking up your account level. And it also featured the traditional class system, each with its own unique set of weapons and gadgets. To the dismay of some players, the emphasis on squad play was heavily reduced and squad mechanics simplified. And even though this made the gameplay experience more casual, it aligned with the game's setting and its focus on chaos and a destructible environment. Cause this is what truly set Bad Company apart from all former Battlefield titles and also from other FPS games. To implement this new destruction mechanic, DICE developed the so-called Frostbite engine, which allowed them to create fully dynamic environments with dynamic lighting and atmosphere. It also introduced early levolution mechanics like shooting explosive barrels to trigger damage to buildings or to eliminate enemies. But most importantly, it gave players a vast sandbox, making 90% of the map destructible. This wasn't confined to structures alone, but extended to vegetation like trees, bushes, and even the ground. It forced players to constantly adapt to the changing environment, as no building or wall was truly safe. If there was a camper in the house, you simply deleted parts of the house. If an objective was inside and guarded by enemies, you just made a few holes in the wall and flushed them out. Only some structures remained indestructible for gameplay balance to prevent the map from being totally flat. The destructible environment became a unique selling point for the franchise, set the stage for future Battlefield titles, and solidified the game's place in the series' history. Bad Company quickly cultivated a vibrant community where players engaged in epic battles, shared memorable moments, enjoyed the atmosphere, and teared down entire maps. The single-player campaign, introducing a squad of lovable characters, was truly something new for the franchise, and the only hiccup was the absence of a PC release that left a bitter taste for veterans of the series. However, this would be fixed with the next title. In March 2010, Battlefield Bad Company 2 was released for PC, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 as a direct sequel to the first game. It continued the story of the squad around Marlow, Haggard, Sweetwater and Redford, building upon the unique charm of the original while aiming for an even more intense experience to compete with Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 2. DICE elevated their game, improving graphics, expanding maps, enhancing destruction, and upgrading the multiplayer mode with refined gameplay mechanics. And this plan proved successful, with the game selling over 5 million copies worldwide within the first few weeks after release. However, the campaign was not as well received as its predecessor, since the interactions between the squad members had a more serious tone and were not as humorous as before, and the missions were made completely linear instead of the semi-open maps from the first title. The multiplayer experience, on the other hand, marked a significant leap forward, making Bad Company 2 one of the highest rated Battlefield games of all time. It saw the return of Conquest, joined by new game modes like Squad Deathmatch and the co-op mode Onslaught. It featured some of the franchise's best maps, including Erika Arbor and Valparaiso, introduced a more extensive squad system again, and a new progression system tied to XP and account level. Weapons and gunplay received substantial improvements, vehicles underwent a significant rework to be customizable for different playstyles, automatic healing was introduced, the spotting system that was known from Battlefield 2 and 2142 returned, and for the first time in the series, the game featured the 4 classes Assault, Medic, Engineer and Recon, all with their unique set of weapons, gadgets and abilities to better fit the new scenario and gameplay mechanics. DICE really took a lot of feedback from the first title into consideration and made substantial changes while still keeping it simple and casual and maintaining the focus on combined arms combat, expansive maps and a great atmosphere. They also revamped the destruction system with an updated version of the Frostbite engine, making more objects destructible with normal bullets instead of only with heavy explosives, which opened up a variety of new ways to play. And they allowed buildings to completely collapse when enough walls were destroyed, crushing everyone inside of it, no matter if friend or foe. And because of all these improvements and new mechanics, and to the surprise of both DICE and EA, Bad Company 2 was a huge success and stands as one of the most popular titles in the series to this day. And to the immense surprise of the player base, an announcement was made for a full DLC set in the Vietnam era. Released in December 2010, this expansion featured 4 brand new maps and several new weapons and vehicles. But what made it truly memorable was its unique atmosphere and the introduction of flamethrowers, for the first time in the series. And all of this came at the reasonable price of only $15. DICE even added a 5th map after players had completed a challenge, performing over 69 million teamplay actions like revives, heals, repairs or resupplies. And to this day, the Vietnam DLC is considered one of the best expansions to a Battlefield game due to its distinct atmosphere and gameplay style. However, Bad Company not only solidified Battlefield's position on PC and consoles, but also ventured into the realms of mobile gaming. It became the first Battlefield game to hit mobile devices, releasing for iOS in December 2010 and for Android in June 2012. While it was a scaled-down version of the original, it retained core features, gameplay elements and maps, and allowed players to enjoy their favorite FPS franchise no matter where they were. There were even plans in motion for a TV series based on the Bad Company games, but after its announcement in 2012, silence has shrouded the project and it seems safe to say that the TV show was cancelled. Overall, Battlefield Bad Company was celebrated for its captivating mix of engaging single-player campaigns, intense multiplayer warfare, dynamic, destructible environments influencing gameplay strategies, and the unforgettable, entertaining characters. Bad Company was to Battlefield what Modern Warfare was to Call of Duty, a step out of the comfort zone that truly made the franchise stand out. However, unlike Call of Duty, Battlefield did not build upon the success of Bad Company anymore, and maybe for the next title it's time to do so. Maybe it's time to take notes from these successful games and learn from the aspects that worked well: the humor, the atmosphere, the emphasis on teamplay and the variety, all while keeping gameplay mechanics simple and understandable for everyone. And most importantly, bring back the destruction. The ability to raze entire maps to the ground, restoring the true Battlefield feeling, but with a Bad Company twist. Bring back this unconventional and witty approach towards a shooter game that set the series apart. Take what was good, what fans loved, and expand upon it. Use it as a foundation to build something even better. This might be the best way to compete with other franchises in a manner that is unique, but still Battlefield.
Hey, guys, look. I found an eye patch. Ow! God, my head.